I better tell you the story about Meher Baba that I forgot to tell you in the previous video. I introduced it and then I never told it to you. Once upon a time, Baba said another thing about wanting. He said, instead of wanting God, be the one who God wants. And as the story goes, and this, after this happened, he sat his disciples down and he, gave them a stern lecture on this topic. Bobby used to go visit advanced souls in India. They are souls that are on dimensions much higher than probably anybody you've ever seen. I've seen a few. Well, partially that's because I went there. It was after Baba died, but there were a few advanced souls kicking around his ashram at the time that were still left over from previous lives that Baba led. He led many lives in that same body period. Anyway, so he used to go visit advanced souls, and there was one particular, they call them musts. There was one particular must he was really anxious to see, and he had his disciples looking all over for this guy. They went to the town where he was supposed to be. They had a bus. They went all over India in this bus, and so he sent them out looking for this guy, and they finally found the guy. And the guy was somebody who was living like a homeless person. A lot of advanced souls live like homeless people. In the master who gave Meher Baba his first awakening lived under a tree for about the last 50 years of her life. And I saw the tree when I was in India. There was a plaque the Indian government had put up. It was the tree was in the middle of a place that had become a traffic circle, but probably in Baba's time, he was 17 at the time, and or maybe he was 14, I can't remember, when he first got God realization. It was probably just a kind of a crossroads with a tree in the middle of it, and she sat under the tree. Anyway, so they found this guy, and Baba, went hurrying with some of them, and he got out of the conveyance they were using, and they saw the guy they were looking for up the street, and Baba jumped out of the thing they were riding in, and he started running at this guy. And when the guy saw him, I can't remember the must's name, but when the must saw him, he jumped up and he ran at Baba, and they grabbed each other in bear hugs, and they started rolling down this dirt street. And rolled for a while, I suppose. Now, what I make of this story is that if you see, what I do is I pray, like I want to make money today, or I want to manifest a trade today. I'm a stock trader, or I want to express my love today, let's say, which I'm doing right now by making this movie. And so if I keep saying that, at some point, perhaps I will rise above all wants. Like, I notice that happens, because when I say I want such and such and God tells me I do, I let go of it, or at least a little bit of it. So I just don't want it in the same way. It starts actually changing from an attachment to an intention. And that's the idea of getting things that are desirable, is to change things from what you want, from an attachment. Change what you want from an attachment to an intention to have it. You know, like when they talk about attracting it, you don't necessarily want to attract things. You want to just have them. You know? What's wrong with having? Where did that become not politically correct to have anything? Well, I should talk. I don't have anything. And because I don't have anything, I have everything. I have the most wonderful life and great food and money to spend on it and so on. And it's come from nothing. See, that's another thing about manifesting. That something that Franny said is, you manifest by, you can't don't do anything to manifest something, you know? And of course I do an awful lot, but everything I do is about making a context. You know, like I noticed that Franny's been planting herbs in our back, you know, most of them are on the pool deck. And she, you know, as with everything anybody has ever done, I started out by taking a dim view of this project. I was thinking, well, it's a waste of time and the dirt's going to get on the pool deck, and you know, all this stuff that goes on in my mind. I'm a real buzzkill, you know. And but anyway, she got a bunch of herbs growing back there, and so I've been making things with the herbs because my hobby's cooking. And boy, I made some great stuff. I tell you, there's nothing like fresh herbs when you are making Indian food. You know. So the idea of this is that Franny is manifesting great food, and but she isn't doing anything. She's just planting herbs. And the idea is to do the things that you do that you know are taking you in the right direction. But when you manifest the thing, like I was talking the other day in one of my talks about how Quillmaji said to make a database, and I did. And I probably have 15,000 photos of good market moves, or market moves that have something to be learned from, or whatever, you know. But a lot of them are real home runs, and I look at them. Sometimes I don't have much time to look at them, but I look at them. And also I use them to instruct myself when I make them. You know, when I put my analysis down and then photograph it, I have a lesson under my belt. And from these lessons, I am in more of a position to have a good trade, that I am there, you know, that I intuit is coming. You know, if you want to understand intuition, one thing I would suggest is read Malcolm Gladwell. There's a book he wrote called Blink. And You know, at the very beginning, he tells a story about Thomas Hoving, who, you know, went to see a sculpture, and, you know, he was a guest to view this new acquisition that the museum had bought. And he said to the curator, the minute he walked down the stairs and looked at it, it was in the basement, he said, "Did you pay for this yet?" I mean, that's how instantaneously it was. And see, what this has to do with manifesting is, don't do anything to manifest. Just amass knowledge, because what intuition is, really, is it's just all the thousands of times that Hoving had seen sculptures dug up from the ground. You know, so he could tell a real one from a fake instantly. You know, he'd seen enough of them. And as far as seeing enough of them, you know, Komaji's right. There really is nothing like making a database and looking at it. Then you start to see enough of them, and then you can intuit the difference between a parabolic short and a fluctuation. The beginning of the beginning of a parabolic short and a fluctuation, you know. And there are a lot more fluctuations than there are parabolic shorts. Let me tell you, okay, Franny has a story she tells to illustrate this. So I'll tell the story. Apologies to Franny for stealing your story. I hope I do a fair job of this. She's told me this story probably 15 or 20 times, because she's always trying to get me to actually learn something from it. And since it appears that I don't, she tells it again, you know. So that's how that works. And I suppose this video book is the same way, you know. You might have to watch it like a few hundred times. And when you watch these books, let your attention wander. Like, stop paying attention to what I'm saying and have your insights and ideas and the things that come to mind for you, you know, let them come. So here's the story, okay? This time I'm not going to forget to tell the story. I've learned my lesson. Franny was in the intensive. We used to give a course called the intensive in a summer camp. And it was 8 days. People lived in the summer camp, and they did their, you know, the course there. And it was out in the middle of nowhere. And we were roughing it, you know. It was fun. So anyway, she was in the intensive. She decided to be in the intensive. She used to do our courses, and she was the head of the whole thing. She was also the chairman of the board, you know, sort of type. That's the kind of person she is, you know. A friend of mine once said that Franny is like a senior director at a Japanese bank. And he was in a position to know, because he was a senior vice president at a Japanese bank. Anyway, so she was, you know, what the Japanese say is Genshi Gembutsu, you know, go and see for yourself. So she was in the intensive, in a squad, and we were playing the enrollment game. And the enrollment game came on Wednesday. You know, it was several days after, I mean, the intensive started on Friday night. So these people had been there for like several days, and they were like into it, you know, and the intensive game was a very hotly contested, this enrollment game that they played. And the idea was, who could get the most enrollments? And we had a lot of courses, and they could use their own enrollments as, you know, part to build up their score. And then they had to get other people to enroll. And they used to do things, when people did the intensive, some of them did the intensive several times, and they would do things like they would find people who were going to assist at the intensive and have them commit to registering for something when they were there, so they'd get the points. They had all this stuff worked out, So I mean, it was really like a fierce competition that they were waging war, and the prize was a T-shirt, a hand-painted T-shirt. That everybody in the squad that won got. They were divided into squads of 6. So Franny was on this squad of 6, and she wanted to win like everybody else, and she had this, enrollment that she thought she could get, and for some reason she had to she had to go down to her cabin to get somebody's phone number to call. That was another thing. We let people call people during the game. It went on for hours, this particular, section of the course, Started about 10 and ended about 1. And so sometimes it went into overtime and ended about 2. So anyway, Franny was going down to her cabin to get whatever, this number or something. I guess it was a phone number. Might have been her brother. And as she was going, she was running down to the cabin, and all of a sudden she said, "Wait a minute." She said, "Nothing you get comes from anything you do. Why am I running? If I'm going to win this game, I'm going to manifest it. It's not going to happen because I get this number and get this enrollment. It will manifest." And so she stopped running and walked down to the cabin, did the same thing she was going to do. Well, her squad won the enrollment game, and they were not the favorites in the enrollment game. So this is like an important point that Franny always likes to make about manifesting, that it doesn't come from anything you do. When you manifest something, it comes from nothing. You bring it forth from the void. And I should remember that with trades. Which I'm getting way better at, I think. Anyway. And the idea of all this is to rise above wanting anything. And I wonder if that's a segue into the next. Oh, I have something else I need to go into. So I guess I'm going to make another movie about manifesting. But for today, this is enough. This movie is enough for this particular topic.